Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chillin and Millin. This is a magic-based podcast where three blokes who kind of like magic and are convinced they're good at it, despite what everyone else tells us, like to come together and discuss Magic the Gathering and all related things. On this podcast, there's the three of us. Let's introduce ourselves.
Yeah, so I'm Sam. Hello. I was so enthusiastic. This
Sam.
week I've been playing way too much Commander than is healthy for any human being. And having a great time with it.
I finally got to play you on a head deck, which I was quite happy with.
that head deck's great. Like, it's jokes. He'd like 20'd me in a turn.
You have not been in Commander long enough if you think that's an impressive
I mean, no. I'm still very new to Commander, and like Sam is showing me all the ways that I can feel pain.
many Minotaur ways.
The many Minotaur ways. I played against a Nagila deck, like a fully kitted out Nagila deck on Sunday. Oh, I got this insane opening hand with like a shit ton of Minotaurs, and he ended up gilding. He sort of gilded Drake for a bloodthirsty Minotaur, for a 5/5 Minotaur.
That sounds like pretty good. That seems like a pretty good trade, to be honest with you.
Honestly, yeah, but oh man, it was so dumb.
Yeah, but jokes on him. His Minotaur doesn't have first strike.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my weekend. Oh, just pissing people off with stupid Minotaur decks. Oh, what have you been up to, Will?
So I'm Will. This week I have been mercilessly feeding Sam's Commander problem by playing Commander with him.
That's fair.
Yeah. I've also been trying out a bit of the new Pioneer format.
Ooh.
I jammed an FNM. Well, a Wednesday night Magic actually of a paper Pioneer.
Does Jesco work yet, or does it still suck?
So I went 2-2 with Jeskai Copycat. So I might
not anymore, boy.
Yeah. And it worked very well against most things, and then I run against two hardcore control decks. And it turns out, do you know we were talking about Field of the Dead last week?
Yep.
And we were like, you need to like special build your mana base for this. You need to do all sorts of things.
Does it turn out that you actually don't?
Well, I died to it, and I was playing against blue-white control.
God damn it.
I'm assuming you just stick two of them in the mana base and just go, well, I'm playing enough lands, let's just go.
Yeah, basically. And it turns out that's a great way to get a Jeskai deck who can't be bothered to draw gas to die.
I like the concept of a Jesco deck not being bothered to draw gas. Like, your deck is just sat there going, I'm just not... It's sat there, like, cigarette in hand, staring up at you. I imagine it's got a French accent. And it's just...
Yeah, probably.
No, monsieur, I'm not feeling it today.
No. You have not played me well enough yet. That's an awful French accent.
I will give you a tapped jewel land and you will be happy with it.
Yeah. So I legit think like the big problem I'm having with it is that there isn't enough man lands. Like,
okay.
I'm missing Celestial Colonnade so bad.
I've got a foil one if you really, really, really want to just stare at it lovingly.
No.
The pause was wonderful there, as I could hear the cogs turning and you going, damn, I've got some Blackleaf Cliffs that boy wants.
I do, yes. No.
You do, indeed.
Yeah. No, that's what I've been up to. So our last host is Hugh. So Hugh, what have you been up to this week?
Yep, I am indeed Hugh. I've also been feeding the insatiable commander, taking commander decks to 4-player commander games and getting my ass handed to me, because even though the Locust Garden is an exceptionally powerful deck, when a game of commander becomes a game of arch enemy, or when Will plays Underworld Dreams.
Hey, Hugh.
Yeah.
Hugh. How do you feel about the new Obnixilis?
Oh, it's so dumb.
Yeah, for those of you, obviously for those of you not in the know, we play Commander, me and Will, against each other, and my Locust God deck, for those of you who don't know, just draws its entire deck out and makes a lot of 1/1s. Will played 2 cards that every time I drew a card, it dealt a damage to me. So my plan just went out the window.
I wasn't even playing draw hate. Those are like my only draw hate. I was playing the Gitrog monster.
What's wonderful is the fact that we still managed to kill you, and then the game went on for another half
It must have been an
hour.
Yeah,
You
easily.
just sat there and durdled at each other.
We drew a card, played it, and said go, and that was that for about half an hour.
Yeah, the next few 100 turns.
It went for explosive turns to just nothing. Apart from that, I finished off Jund this week.
How is it having no money now?
It's an unfortunate problem. But the mana base is finally up and running, which means that coming to an F&M near you is going to be me and Jund. Either that or me and Burn, depending on which tier 1 deck I want to use. Way, puff from the cigarette. No, I'm kidding.
Is there by any chance an F&M specifically near me?
I can absolutely come to an F&M specifically near you.
You should totally come. Yeah,
I will. I definitely will. But yeah, that's what I've been doing in this week. I've also been enjoying Brawl. I never thought I'd say that on Arena. Because Saffron Olive recently released a video about Yorok Brawl, where he basically talked about the fact that everyone is building Brawl decks just like standard decks. And I looked at my mono red. I know it's not Torbjorn, but I'm going to call it Torbjorn. Mono red Torbjorn deck. And I looked and went, well, this is basically a standard deck. I wonder if he's correct. If I play it like a standard deck, will I just lose? And I've currently gone undefeated with the exception of 1 game. And
what happened in that 1 game, Hugh?
That 1 game is going to be the basis of our first section, which is an apology.
Ooh.
Interesting. Okay.
I think I know what this apology is about.
During the last episode of Chillin and Millin, we discussed Oko and how I believed that I didn't know why Oko was broken, and that unless Oko was going to see a significant amount more play, Oko was not going to be banned. I come to you today, a changed man who now understands why Oko is broken, and to quote the Daily Mail, ban this sick filth.
Did you get turned into a 3/3 elk?
My commander was a 3/3 elk, and that was a Magic the Gathering apology.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I absolutely.
That's brutal.
Thinking about it, like in the power level of like, if you think about like that 3/3 ability, right? Turn something into a 3/3 elk, it loses all abilities.
Yeah.
On retrospect, we probably should have guessed that it was actually that powerful. Because you know what it actually reminds me of?
Go on.
It reminds me of Imprisoned in the Moon.
Yes, definitely. It just turns off commanders. The issue with it is, I realize this is the issue, and like if you've done any kind of other Magic looking, you will know this is the issue. But Oko's major issue is that the making something a 3/3 elk and losing all abilities is a +1. Whereas I'm convinced,
which is so dumb.
I'm convinced it should be a -2. I think if Oko's, if that +1 was a -2, I think Oko would be perfectly playable, but not broken.
I even think if it was like a -1, like you probably don't even need to go as harsh as -2, but you just need to make it so like it down ticks.
I was going -2 so that if you do it twice, he dies. So because he comes in on 4 loyalty.
He comes in 4, yeah.
So I was doing. So that's what I was thinking about. But yeah, it's the fact that it's +1, which means that he becomes healthier when he does it, and he turns off any creature that you want to do. Plus, if he really wants to, he can just start making your own stuff 3/3s if you really need that.
Yeah, just beat the opponent with.
Yeah, so I now understand why Oko is broken. So we can push and say that Oko should be banned in Standard. I now believe.
There's also probably an argument for it in Pioneer, but that's like probably a discussion for another day.
Or a discussion for right now.
Have you guys been seeing him a lot in Pioneer? Is he making waves there as well?
I've honestly not been playing Pioneer, but Will has, so.
So I personally haven't run into him yet, but that's because like paper decks are weird, right? It takes a long time for the paper deck meta of like F&Ms to settle down. Online, I think he has been making waves. But I think it's because, and as we're about to discuss in like the BNR announcement that happens on Monday, you could basically free roll Planeswalkers in green, and there was no reason not to run him, basically, which may be about to change. So,
Well, why don't we
Let's do
discuss that? Well, why don't we get on to our
so
first proper
yeah,
segment?
so as many people may know or may not know, there was a BNR announcement on Monday. So
that's
these
a ban.
are
That's banned and restricted. There we
yes. This was a banned and restricted announcement. It's one of the special off-season ones. So if you notice, we only just had another one. So this one is just for Pioneer, and it's because they wanted to watch Pioneer very, very closely and basically like ban out anything that made it bad before like the GP started happening next year. So they're checking it every Monday, and there's going to be another banned and restricted announcement, even if they choose not to ban anything. So this is the first one since the format's inception, and 3 cards have been banned. Notably, one of them we did call.
When you say we, Mr. Will, was if I remember correctly, during our conversation, you used the phrase "I don't think Saheeli is going to get banned," which you are correct about. However, what did get banned?
Okay, so Hugh's quite right in saying that last week I may have said something about I don't think that Felidar Guardian combo is quite good enough to be banned. I may have been wrong.
Well, I haven't kind of like looked at the actual ban and restricted announcement quite yet. What was the exact reasoning for it? Because I know that it was basically seeing ridiculously large amounts of
So
play.
it was quite a lot. So I believe there was somewhere in the mid to high teens of like Felidar Guardian Saheeli combo in like the first Mitgo League that happened. So it's noticeably like much, much more than the previous like any other combo deck, basically. So like there is a couple of other combo decks in there, but like this is basically like the first one, the number one, the top there. This is the top combo deck, basically.
The fact that when Pioneer first came out, that was your go-to first deck to think about, and I think that was one of the major issues. Is that I think it was a lot of people's first.
So I've just got the
decks.
banned and restricted announcement here, and they don't say like the actual numbers. But like it just says that they earned the most. The 2 decks that earned the most 5-0 league finishes are Magic Online, and they both have very high win rates. So like they're being very coy and kind of hand wavy about it, but I can assure you it was very large. So basically, there was 2 Felidar Guardian decks. There was a Jeskai version, which played more as a control deck or a tempo deck, and you're relying on kind of like red removal, white removal, and blue card selection to get you there, and blue permission to get you there. And then there was a 4-color version. And the 4-color version actually utilized another now banned card. That is Oath of Nissa. So if you don't know what an Oath of Nissa does, I don't blame you.
Go for it, yeah.
So Oath of Nissa is a 1 green mana enchantment that lets you look, I believe, when it enters the battlefield, I believe you can look 3 cards deep.
Shall I read the card out because I have the card up? So Oath of Nissa is a 1 green for a legendary enchantment. When Oath of Nissa enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature, land, or planeswalker card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. You may spend mana as though it were any color of mana to cast planeswalker spells.
The initial banning of the fetch lands, one of the things it was meant to do was to make really varied mana bases very difficult. Because you can't just fetch shock for any color you needed, basically. And what this did was basically say, okay, in a base green deck, you can play as many planeswalkers as you want, and it doesn't matter what color they are. And it'll even go and find them for you.
All you ever needed to do was ramp into it by playing Llanowar Elves or any kind of basic ramp, and you were just there.
It was mostly Gilded Goose, actually, because you got to free roll Oko as well.
I suppose. Can I say this? Like, I'm gonna put my hand up here and say something controversial. Gilded Goose is a bad Magic card.
Gilded Goose is a good Magic card when you ramp into a 3-mana planeswalker that reloads your Gilded Goose.
No, I completely agree. However, Gilded Goose without anything to back it up is just a significantly worse Birds of Paradise.
Oh no, yeah, definitely.
I don't see the appeal of Gilded Goose, but there we go. Anyway, do continue, mate.
Not the point. So both Felidar Guardian and Oath of Nissa are now banned in Pioneer. So there's going to be an interesting vacuum now in combo decks. So I don't know if like Jeskai Ascendancy combo is going to rise to the top or not, but that's something that's yet to be determined.
I think we're going to see Jeskai Ascendancy potentially turning up. I think we're going to see. I think right. I'm going to put my hat in here and say that I think potentially the next thing that's going to get banned is probably Aetherworks Marvel.
I disagree.
I also potentially think that we're going to see the banning of, and I'm getting this from the actual banner of 6 mana. We're going to start seeing the banning of 3-mana Planeswalkers, because I'm trying to find the exact phrase. Here it is. As it says, this is when they talk about Oath of Nissa. It says it also greatly contributes to the consistency of strategies that utilize a large number of 3-mana Planeswalkers that in a way that creates an unhealthy play pattern. I think that that Wizards have their eyes squarely set on 2 Planeswalkers here.
Ooh, can I guess what they are?
Go on.
Is it Tiny Teffy? Is it Oko?
It is. I believe that they currently have sniper sights trained directly on them, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see them both gone next week.
I'm not. I would not be surprised if we saw Oko gone. I would be very surprised if we saw Tiny Teffy gone so quickly.
I think the problem is that for his mana cost, he is so efficient, and he allows so many different strategies to work around him, and he's just as effective late game as he is early game. So maybe it might not be next week that he gets banned, but I wouldn't be surprised if he sees some form of banning in the future.
Yeah, I would agree. So we actually have another banning in Pioneer. So there's one more card that was banned in this announcement, and that is Leyline of Abundance.
This I did not see coming.
No, I did not either. I did not even know that this deck was a thing.
It's apparently one of the big ones, though, isn't it? It's one of the big 2, hence why it's banned.
So if you didn't know, and I don't blame you if you don't, Leyline of Abundance was played in mono green, kind of mono green Devotion is probably the best name for it.
I think it was exactly mono green Devotion because it was playing Nixus.
Yeah, playing Nithos trying to Nyx. So if you don't know what Leyline of Abundance does because you haven't looked at M20, once again, I do not blame you. So it has the normal Leyline text. And then if you would tap a mana dork for 1 mana, you instead tap it for 2. Or you tap it for 1 more.
Whenever you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green mana.
Yes. So it basically made your Llanowar Elves tap for 2. So their argument for banning this was that in these mono green Devotion decks where you're trying to get as many green pips down as possible and then ramp into big things, it basically was 2 free green pips. So it made Nithos trying to Nyx far too good. And then it made all your little dorks just ramp even harder, so you could ramp into something huge.
It was as early as things like turn 3, I looked it up. That turn 3, they were getting ridiculously large amounts of mana in.
Yeah. So knowing how frustrating that the ramp into very big things structures can be, I don't think anybody's going to be complaining about any of these bans.
No, I think I was looking on the Magic subreddit. I think there's going to be one bloke that's complaining, and that's the bloke that when Pioneer got announced, posted his picture of over 400 Saheeli Rise. And I think he's going to be annoyed.
Well, I don't care if he's annoyed, if I'm honest.
Oh dear. It's wonderful. I couldn't find the post again because I was going to post it later, but it's just a guy with the title "Finally My Time Has Come," and it is a box filled with Saheeli Rise. And I'm just thinking that is a man who does not realize the problems he's about to run into.
Oh yeah, no, he badly misread what was going on here.
Oh, definitely.
I will still claim that Jeskai Saheeli died for the 4-color deck sins. I would have been much more interested to see what happened if you just banned Oath of Nissa and waited it out, but I don't think they're very interested in doing that.
I wouldn't be surprised if what we see with Pioneer is a lot of very early bannings, and then when the meta starts to settle, they start to unban certain cards to let certain things back in.
Yeah, there's a very modern, like, I imagine they're going to take a very modern approach to the ban list, which is kind of this very much aggressive bannings to begin with, then like testing the waters of unbanning stuff and banning stuff again. Like, that's probably not a bad way of going.
Ban it if it's a major issue, unban it later on when you think it should be okay.
Yeah.
And then either you'll get a Jace on your hands where it'll actually be completely fine in the meta, or you'll get a Golgari Grave Troll where it will still be an issue.
Yeah.
It's interesting that it kind of sounds like what Wizards are doing are trying to make it really easy for people to get into it, so you don't have all powerful decks from old standards.
Yeah.
Which was the big problem I thought it was going to have. But I'm still not sold on Pioneer, but I'm at least glad that they're dealing with it in a way that I feel is a good way of dealing with it.
Yeah, like I say, they're keeping up the steam on it all. Like, I was playing some Pioneer this afternoon, and kind of midday England on a what day is it? Wednesday? Midday on a Wednesday afternoon. Like, I did not have a problem getting a Pioneer game.
It's good. I am still going to wait till it hits that third stage where it's settled before I make the deck. But even though I'm not sold on Pioneer, I am starting to eye decks and I'm starting to think about brews. So it's clearly caught my attention in some capacity.
So we do have one more banned and restricted announcement that we need to talk about. And Hugh, you're going to be so happy.
Ban this sick filth.
So as of I'm not sure when.
Yesterday.
Was it as of yesterday?
Literally yesterday. As of the 5th of the 11th, 2019. Not to date this podcast or anything.
Oh. Yes. As of yesterday, Oko, Thief of Crowns, is banned in Brawl, but only on Arena.
But what was it you said earlier? That's fine because who plays Brawl not on Arena anyway?
Who plays Brawl anywhere else than Arena?
What it in fact means is that you can't play Oko on Wednesdays. Because Brawl is only available on Wednesdays on Magic Arena. Which is the reason why it's only available Wednesdays. In a move that is so very Wizards of the Coast. Yeah, I was playing it today, actually. I was quite enjoying it. But no, he is banned. Again, only time I ever lost with my Brawl deck was up against an Oko deck. And my favourite video of a Brawl match that I have seen was someone that played a Brawl deck that played 58 forests. No, sorry, not 58 forests.
Okay.
It was 50 forests. 8 blue and green combo lands, 1 Oko and 1 Gilded Goose. And they proceeded to win.
What?
Turn 1 Gilded Goose, turn 2 Oko, proceeds to win the game. And I'm sat there going, if this is not testament to how good Oko is, I don't know what is. That with just a refuelable mana dork, he can just go to town.
I'm so confused.
I will show you the video later. I might put it in the description.
Yeah, please.
Yes, please.
It is a nice little video, but I'm glad he's banned. I think it's the face of things to come. I think this is what you said earlier about, Jeskai Saheeli dying for 4 color Saheeli sins. I think this is Brawl Oko has died for Standard Oko sins, and Standard Oko is going to feel the wrath very soon.
Well, like, Brawl Oko's probably got like the Standard Oko problem times 10, right? Because occasionally, if you're playing against an Oko deck in Standard, occasionally they don't have Oko in their opening hand.
Occasionally.
And in Brawl, they always have it in the opening hand, right? And they have Gilded Goose and they have like other mana dogs to like accelerate it out into turn 2, and it's just.
Would you like to know what percentage of the meta in Standard Oko currently participates within?
No idea.
So Oko is played in Simic Aggro. It is played in Bant Control, and it is played in Sultai Control, which all together make up around 36% of the meta.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie here. It's probably not a good thing when your 3-mana Planeswalker can go in a control deck and an aggro deck. That seems like it's bad design.
Oh yeah, it's something. It also gets played in Simic Control, but that's only 1%, so who cares? Am I right?
Yeah.
I think it also gets played in the 4/5 color commander decks, but that used to be Golos now, so there we go. But yeah, I'm so glad it's banned.
We should probably move on, because I think we've harped on about Oko for quite a lot, both this week and last week. We should probably leave poor Oko, stupid sexy alone.
I was gonna say he has turned this podcast into a 3/3 elk.
I was gonna make like an elk sound there, then I realised I really don't know what elk sound like.
It's like a weirdly high-pitched screeching noise, isn't it?
Okay, I'm not going to do that.
I like that something, isn't it?
That is the sound your opponents make when you play an Oko.
In which case, we shall move on to the second of our sections, which, unfortunately, gentlemen, this is an unsanctioned section.
Does that mean I can use proxies?
Dab. So recently announced, there is a brand new unset on the way, off the back of the, I'm going to say, runaway success of Unstable. We are getting.
It was very popular.
We are getting
For
Unsanctioned.
For sure.
It is being released on February 29th, so it is actually being released within the next few months. Unfortunately for draft fans, this is not a draftable format. How Unsanctioned works is it's actually 5 pre-constructed decks with around, I believe, 30 new cards.
That sounds about right, yeah.
I would say the most interesting and exciting thing for me is that it has been confirmed that this set is going to include a legendary squirrel card for the first time ever. And I'm beyond happy that I finally get to play Squirrel Tribal, and
it's coming.
God, do I genuinely hope that that it's the one card in the entire set that's not silver bordered. Just load of silver bordered cards and then just one Squirrel Lord, and it's just like, what? And it's just like, you can play this in Modern now.
That would
I really want them to do that going forward, right? Just like in every single unset, just like what was the one in Unstable?
Steam, Steam something.
Flogger. Steam something Flogger. Like, there's just one black bordered card that just happens to be legal with a funny name that they managed to work into the set. Like, I really, really want like the next unset to have like Saddleback Lagak on it, just because it's got a brilliant name.
I remember Saddleback. Was it during the Unstable release and draft where you pulled a Saddleback Lagak? And the only reason I knew that you had drafted a Saddleback Lagak is because every time you played it, you said with glee, quite loudly across the room actually, that you were playing a Saddleback Lagak.
Yeah, I think that was when was that the Zendikar pre-release?
It might have been, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think it was for the Battle for Zendikar pre-release.
Yeah, sorry. All I remember is that every time you played it, you had to gleefully tell when you played it.
There's been a couple of things like that. Like, every time I had Song of Freyalise in the Dominaria pre-release, I just looked people dead in the eye and said, "Would you like me to sing you the song of my people?" And then proceeded to like start warbling at them. It was very weird.
It was very weird. I will say I'm not as excited about this set as I think I could be, mainly down to the fact that it isn't draftable. And I have an entire box of Unstable that I bought, which I use as one of my draft boxes. And I'm a little upset that this isn't draftable because some of my favorite ever games of Magic were with Unstable. I had so much fun with it, and as much as I'm probably still going to have a lot and build it, like playing with a pre-constructed unset, it's not going to allow quite the same level of random weirdness. that Unstable gave me. I'm not going to be able to play a two-headed giant game with both myself and my partner both using our hands to create homunculi, then getting extra people from around the store who would finish their games to become other homunculi, at which point both of them got tired at the same time and quit just as my opponent declared attacks. I don't think I'll ever get that again.
Yeah, you kind of, with it being like a constructed deck, you kind of lose that. Ironically, you lose that random element, right, of like opening your pack and going, okay, what on earth can I build of this? And like having to read all the cards and trying to figure out what even does synergy mean in this set. And with a pre-constructed deck, you kind of lose that.
Yeah, is there any way of actually making this deck work, or is it just going to be a 40-card pile of weirdness? Or is it going to be a 40-card pile of weirdness that, for some reason, actually is playable?
Yeah. So my favorite story from Unstable was, I believe this is the same draft that me and you did.
I believe it is.
So I was drafting green white or green blue or something like that. It was one of like the two color combinations, and it was going half decently. And then I opened my second pack, and there was a Urza Headmaster. And I just looked at it and looked at the guy next to me and showed him the pack and was like, do I take this? And he was like, yeah. So he was like, well, I guess I'm just in 5-color good stuff now.
I love the fact you went into 5-color good stuff, because every time I wandered over to you, and this was like multiple times throughout the thing, you always had Urza out.
Yeah.
And at no point during that game did I think you ever used Urza and was actually like disappointed with what he had done for you.
Oh, it was jokes. Absolutely jokes. Urza's great fun. An awful card. Like a legitimately terrible card.
Did you ever ult him?
No. The problem is, right, because you just don't know what you're going to get with the upticks or the downticks, right? There's no way you can plan anything. So you just have to, like, at the beginning of the turn, it's like, well, I guess I +1, like, Urza, see what happens. Or, like, if you're in a bad spot, it's like, well, I guess a -2 Urza and see what I get. I hope it's a removal thing. Like, it was so much fun, but, like, that card messed with me.
I'd like to point out that the Ask Urza website is still up and running, because you had to go to a website for it, didn't you?
Yeah. It was a random ability, so it was basically one of any. So it
was
any
all
plus
of the
ability on a planeswalker was on his +1. Any minus ability, any like middling minus ability was on his -2, and then I can't remember how they did his -8 or whatever it was.
His -6 was all of the ultimates. So I'm looking through them now. You get an emblem of creatures you control of double strike, trample, hexproof, and haste. Destroy up to 3 target creatures and/or planeswalkers. Return each card put to the graveyard this way under the battlefield under your control. Gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, put 7 permanents from your hand onto the battlefield. Gain 100 life, create a 6/6 worm for each land you control. Lots of different fun.
Yeah, you were never getting there. You were dying before that happened.
Yeah, but
for sure.
I'm as a result I'm a little bit upset that it isn't a draftable format, but I will, if the decks seem fun, I will absolutely be buying 1 or 2 of them and having just silly fights with people.
Yeah,
because that is always a fun thing to do.
Like, what do you think about it, Sam?
I just wonder what the motivation for Wizards of the Coast was. Maybe they didn't have the time to work on that.
I think I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
Like unsets take like a lot of work, right?
Yeah, because you can't.
I'd imagine so.
Yeah, because you got to be imaginative, but you've also got to have mechanics that blend in together, and you've got to make them silly but not broken. So, because I'm sure there's some many silly things you can do. Because there's a major difference between silly and fun. Because you could do something silly for an UNS card, but it might not be fun. Because it's all well and good going, like having like a 10/10 for 1, but you must play this card while doing a handstand. If you fall over, sacrifice this creature. That's not fun. But
that's just impossible.
But it's wacky and weird. So like you have to kind of go down that weird middle route. So I think potentially it's just, let's make a new unset. I wouldn't be surprised if if Unsanctioned is just the 5 sections from Unstable, but given their own specific decks. Because it says, I think it's only 30 new cards. So if it's only 30 new cards, that would make sense that either they're printing actual normal cards into it, which I can't see them doing, or it's going to be new ones. Oh, hang on, sorry. Oh, sorry. I like to point out. That's what it says. It says the set combines reprints from previous unsets with 16 new uns cards. Whatever happens with that, I think you said it best, Will, in that there is going to be some playgroup out there that's going to love this, but whether or not it's going to be something that everyone's going to enjoy as much as Unstable maybe remains to be seen.
Fun, but not a curiosity more than anything else.
Yeah. But I think there is something that is definitely designed for the much wider Magic community, pretty much interspaced all through this year, which is, Sam, would you like to introduce the next section?
Yeah, I would love to. The Command Zone made a video with the hosts Josh Lee Quiet and Jimmy Wong talking with Gavin Verhey, who, for those of you who don't know, made some of the coolest sets ever. I think he made the Arch Enemy set and the Battle Bond set, which Commander players everywhere absolutely love.
What, you mean Commander Masters?
He's kind of their go-to guy for designing kind of the weirder sets, right?
He's done Ether Revolt, Conspiracy, and Conspiracy Take the Crown, Fate Reforged, Gate Crash, From the Vaults, Angels, Annihilation 20, Ixalan Kaladesh, Mod Masters 2017, Oath of the Gate Rush, Shadows over Innistrad, Arch Enemy Nicobolus, Commander 2017, and Battle Bond. Those are the sets he's been involved with. He is only lead designer on the 3 that you've mentioned, though.
Gotcha. So yeah, he's kind of like the guy that they to for the cool new ideas. And it was such a huge announcement. So I'll run through everything quickly now, and then we'll have a bit of a discussion about them. So 2020, on the 24th of April, the new Magic set will come out. It'll be Ikoria. It will be Ikoria, Lair of Lair of Behemoths. There we go. So that'll be the new set. That'll be all the normal stuff with that. But alongside that, we'll have 5 new Commander pre-constructed decks. And along with those 5 new decks, we're going to have 71 new cards, which will not be showing up in draft boosters, which is absolutely insane. So
that's the most they've ever done, right?
Yeah. Up until now, it's been, I don't even know how many cards. It's been less cards than that have been new in the Commander sets. So that is huge.
That is their kind of Commander set in terms of that's the closest we're going to get next year to what we're expecting is the normal Commander set.
Yeah, for sure. And then after that, at some point, they haven't released a date yet. There'll be Zendikar Rising, which will be another set. And along with that set, there'll be 2 more pre-constructed Commander decks with 3 new cards per deck. So there'll be 6 new cards with those 2 decks. And it seems like this one is going to be less of a... When Gavin referred to it, he seemed to think it was more of a getting into the format kind of decks. So I think there's going to be less new mechanics in these decks, and it's going to be more, hey, if you're getting into Commander, these are going to be really good decks for you to pick up because they've got all the staples in, but they've also got relatively easy game plans. Seems to be the idea of those 2.
So interestingly, these 2 are replacing the Planeswalker decks for Zendikar Rising. So if you weren't familiar with the Planeswalker decks, they're the 2 kind of pre-constructed, very low power decks that tend to be beginners are encouraged to pick up.
Well, it's how I got into Magic, but it was before they were Planeswalker decks. I got them when they were just normal, kind of just decks within the thing. I forgot what they were called before they were called Planeswalker decks.
They might have been intro decks or something like that. But like these two commander decks are replacing them, which is why they're only getting 3 new cards, which is probably going to be the commanders and a couple of other things.
I think it'll be 2 new commanders and then one card shared between them. So probably some kind of mana rock or some kind of chase rare that is going to basically be wanted by maybe other commander players, maybe just to push them slightly.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's really interesting. Actually, it's replacing the plane or the dual decks, the planeswalker decks, even.
Yeah, like I find it mostly interesting because I've recently had experience with getting 2 people who completely like from nothing into Magic. And those Planeswalker decks have actually ended up being quite invaluable because they're actually a really great way of teaching people. They're really low powered and they're not very complex, and they're a great way to introduce people.
You can slowly but surely add slightly more complicated mechanics in, and people will understand them, which is really, really useful.
So incidentally, in that case, we've jumped from the Planeswalker decks to an old school dual deck to like Pioneer. That was the progression they went on. The thing about Commander is, I always perceived it as incredibly new player unfriendly.
I'd argue it's the opposite. I'd argue that it's very new player friendly because there's so many pre-constructed Commander decks that are so easy just to pick up and play with, and they all contain most of the staples that they're going to want. Every single one contains a Soul Ring and a Command Tower. So if you want to upgrade your deck to something significantly more powerful, you don't need a huge amount to do it.
See, this is the point, right? I agree with you in principle, but that's not new player friendly. That's like beginning player friendly, right? Where they're trying to like build their decks and like get staples. I'm meaning from like a nuts and bolts learning.
But then the thing, a nuts and bolts learning the game point of view, so I would give them something like just a mono-colored blue deck or a mono-colored red or green deck. But there's a big difference.
But this is the point, right? So like the Planeswalker decks are actually incredibly simple, and they lead to incredibly simple board states, and it means it's actually very easy to explain things to people. Like it's like trying to explain how to do things at instant speed, and when you can do things at instant speed is actually a nightmare. And Commander actually lends itself to very complicated board states and a lot of things going on, and this is why people love it. It's just that's not very new player friendly, and I'm very curious about what replacing the Planeswalker decks with these Commander decks.
I do think though Zendikar Rising, if the core set is a set that is designed specifically around getting new players into Magic, I think that Zendikar Rising is a set which is going to aim to do the complete opposite, in that it is going to instead be like Dominaria, a complete and total nostalgia trip for experienced players. Because otherwise, why would you go back to Zendikar and specifically state this is a Zendikar set based around the original idea of adventure?
Yeah, like I agree with you, and it is worth noting that they are still producing 2 Planeswalker decks for Core 2020. Like they are still have their like introductory decks there. So it might be actually that like you're meant to jump from like the Core 2020 Planeswalker decks, and then you go, hey, have you played Commander? And then you, after you've taught them to play with those decks, you jump into the Zendikar Rising Commander decks, which I think inevitably are going to be simpler.
The fact there's only 3 new cards means that it's going to be it'll most likely be. I wouldn't be surprised if because I've heard some people saying where it's going to be like it might be Nahiri and Nissa, or I've heard people saying it's going to be like Allies versus Eldrazi. I wouldn't be surprised if what we saw was one Zendikar Rising Commander deck, which is based around the original Zendikar block, and one based around the Battle for Zendikar block instead.
I would be more skeptical. I think they're going to try and tie them into a Zendikar Rising a lot closer, and don't really like. I think it's in Wizards' best interest to kind of forget that like Battle for Zendikar.
What are you talking about? It's not like Mark Rosewater said, but that was his biggest disappointment.
Yeah, it's not like it broke format. It's always a really boring format to.
I don't know what you're talking about, but this isn't the only command. I mean, 2 Commander products. Not the only Commander products next year, is it?
So after Zendikar Rising, Gavin said towards the middle or end of 2020, we have a Commander collection for the color green, which is going to be reprinting 8 cards for green, basically, which is really exciting. And they're all going to be new artwork, and there's going to be 2 different types. There's going to be foil Commander collections and non-foil Commander collections.
Which I love the idea of. I'm so happy.
Yeah, it is a great idea.
I think how did you put it, Sam? You did it by the fact that people, as a result, aren't just going to be buying up all of them, because the people that want the chase foils just buy the foil version.
And they just get it, yeah. And then all the people who need the staples but don't want to just get that random foil that's like, I don't know, like $200, don't want to take that chance and have the price tag go up by like £20 for this one purchase, can get the thing they need as well.
So is the plan for them to act like kind of like the signature spell books did?
We'll get back to that. The final thing, just to shut down the conversation, the final thing that's coming, which when they made the announcement, they said it was going to be over a year until it comes out. So I'm thinking it's going to be either probably December of 2020. Is going to be a set called Commander Legends, which is a new set, which is a draftable Commander experience, lead designed by Gavin Verhey. And in it, there's going to be 20 card packs. In each pack, 1 card is guaranteed to be a legendary creature. There are 70 new legendary creatures in this set, a foil in every single pack. And yeah.
We joked about Battle Bond being Commander Masters. This is actually Commander Masters.
I imagine there's going to be so many reprints in this set, and there's going to be 2 more Commander decks, pre-constructed Commander decks coming out with this set, each with 3 more new cards coming out with this, which is so huge. That is all of the Commander news coming out for next year.
Commander Legends, it is so much. When I first heard about all the Commander news, I was originally a little bit kind of, God, there's so much of it, but they've spaced it out so well that I'm actually really excited for pretty much all of these. Like Ikoria, I'm looking forward to seeing how they tie Ikoria into Commander decks, because usually with Commander decks, when you have like the normal set, it's usually based around some kind of theme. So this year, for instance, no, sorry, it wasn't this. Yeah, this year. This year, for instance, it was based around mechanics. So each deck had a specific mechanic that it was based around. The year before then, it was based around Commander Planeswalkers. The year before that, it was based specifically around tribals. The year before that, it was 4-color. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do this. Are we going to have 5 Commander decks that are all monocolored Commander decks based around Ikoria? Or are we going to have a mixture? Are we going to potentially have like, a 2-color, a 4-color, a 3-color, a 1-color, a 5-color, stuff like that? Or is it going to be like, is Ikoria going to have 5 mechanics and each of the mechanics is going to get a Commander deck? I'm interested to see what it thinks about it's going to do here.
So thematically, I think it's far too early to tell, right? Like, we don't actually know a lot about Ikoria. We don't know a lot about what the set's themes and mechanics are going to be. I personally suspect it's going to be, if it's going to be like Lair of Behemoths or something, it's going to be something daft like 5 giant legendary creatures, and I think they're going to try and keep them kind of dirtily and kind of simple. I think they'll be thematically themed in through like all the cards. I don't think they'll be like mechanic keyword based decks.
Probably be more like the 2017 Commander decks that were like dragons, cats, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, probably, and they will probably have like some common mechanics in there, right, that are in the set. But I feel like that's the best way. Like they said in the announcement that these are all going to be very heavily like themely tied into the sets that are being released around. So I feel that's like the nicest and the easiest way of doing it, really. Like, I'm excited. I think if they're going to 5 decks, they kind of have to go to a color cycle.
Yeah,
that makes the most sense, right?
It will either be then like I know if I was a designer, I know what I'd want to do, and what I'd want to do is I want to do 5 Commander decks, each of which is one of the 4 color combinations. Because with the exception of the 2016 commanders, there is no alternative if you want to play a 4-color commander, unless within your commander sphere you are willing to allow people to play the Nephlins. So I wouldn't be surprised if now that it's Layer Beam is giant hulking behemoth creatures, I wouldn't be surprised if they went, okay, well each of them is 4 of the 5 colors.
The problem with that is it's actually sometimes incredibly hard to thematically tie in 4-color combinations because you are kind of defined by the color you leave out rather than the colors you have in. So if they want it to be very thematically tied to the set, I think less colors is better. Maybe down to like a limit of 2.
Potentially. I think maybe under that circumstance, I wouldn't be surprised if we get monocolored commander decks, because
that could be interesting. Certainly,
I think the last time we got monocolored commanders was 2014. I think, in terms of we don't really get monocolored commanders anymore because most commanders in monocolors, they're not really as powerful because you have less variation. Like, obviously, this is a general sweeping statement. I've played against Perforos Commander before, and I've been absolutely trounced by the thing.
I don't think it's that monocolored commanders are less powerful. I think when people see monocolored pre-constructed decks, they get less excited.
It's because they can't think, oh, I can play these. But you suddenly take away 20% of the card base that you can no longer play.
The monocolors often really badly struggle to escape their own identity, and that's what's nice about like having more color combinations, particularly the 2 color combinations, which is it allows those color combinations to breathe, those colors to breathe a lot more.
Wouldn't it potentially therefore be really, really useful to have monocolor commanders that allow you to start breaking out of those molds, which potentially with 71 new cards might make sense. You print 71 new cards into these commander decks, all of which are capable of showing off your new monocolor commander, in a light that is different from just the red burns things, blue counters things sort of meta that we're kind of... I'd argue we're not entrenched in because we want to be entrenched in it, we're entrenched in it because we kind of feel we have to be.
Maybe, like, it depends. So this is the problem, like, those types of breaking out of the meta ideas and the colors identities work a lot better when you're not trying to tie something thematically into something else.
I do get that. I get it. It's going to be a weird one to think about. I'm really excited to see what they do with it, because like I'm like Sam in that I'm a massive Commander fan. I bought and buy so many Commander decks. Like, I've got so many of the pre-constructed. Like, a load of my Commander decks are built around the pre-constructed commanders because they're so fun to build around. And I think maybe that's the thing that I'm so excited for with these new commander reveals, is that the actual commanders themselves within the commander sets are always way more fun to build around than the legendaries we get in the basic sets.
I feel like that's definitely one of the things they have to do with pre-constructed commanders. They have to make the commander flexible enough so that you can build it in different ways. So, like with Aminatou, they're giving her a +1, which lets you manipulate the top of your deck, so you can have a Miracles deck. They've given her a -2, so you can blink a thing. I don't know how you work that into monocolor decks. It would be awesome if they can. And I suppose they have the themes from the Lair of Behemoths to kind of try and make them build differently.
So basically, we have no idea.
Not a Scooby. How about
basically.
How about then we talk about something that we can potentially all have a bit more of an idea on? Because we've spoken about Zendikar Rising and kind of its 2 commander decks relatively well in like before. So let's talk about Commander Collection Green and say, okay, 8 green cards, all of which are reprints, which are specifically kind of chase cards that Commander players want. What cards potentially are going to get put in, and why is it Sylvan Library?
So two photos came out with the announcement from the command zone. What people are thinking right now is the first one was Chord of Calling.
It's literally a bloke on an instrument summoning creatures. It's Chord of Calling.
Chord of Calling is a curious one for me, because like, how much does Chord of Calling see more play in Commander than Green Sun Zenith?
Yes, it sees just as much.
Okay, it is currently cheaper. Like, I kind of get it. I like, if they're going for like iconic cards that need just as much of a reprint, I'm very confused about why they go for Chord of Calling over Green Sun Zenith.
Potentially down to the fact that they don't want to reprint Green Sun Zenith, knowing that Green Sun Zenith is banned in formats. It's not banned in Commander, no, but I think Wizards are very careful about reprinting cards that they know are banned in their official formats, which is the reason why Leovold saw reprints despite the fact it's banned in Commander, because they knew that it was seeing play in things like Legacy.
I don't quite buy that, because Green Sun Zenith sees play in Legacy as well. I'm not saying that Chord of Calling is a bad reprint if it is Chord of Calling. I'm just confused by it.
Both Chord and Green Suns, according to MTG Goldfish, are sitting at 9.
Yeah, Green Sun's come down since the reprint.
This second one, then, that has a reference to Azusa Lost but Seeking in it, it's a creature, because they've said it's a Kamigawa creature, but I don't know whether or not I'm going to be able to guess this one. Because all we know so far is the picture, and that it says this is a Kamigawa creature, but the creature was not originally from Kamigawa. So I don't know what that one's going to be, in all honesty.
It's got to have a name that doesn't like invoke its own plane, right? So you can't have Oracle of Muldire, which has been one that's been suggested, because that's like very Zendikar.
I've heard a couple of suggestions. I've heard the one that I was convinced by was Seaborn Muse, first of all, because Seaborn Muse, when they made the announcement, they pointed at the headgear of the creature that looks kind of like Azusa Lost but Seeking's headgear, which kind of ties the creature with lands, because Azusa's ability is...
It's Azusa Lost but Seeking, you may pay 2 additional lands each turn.
And what Seaborn Muse does is it untaps all of your permanents, including lands, during everybody else's untap steps. And crucially, Seaborn Muse is a spirit creature type, which ties it in with Kamigawa, because Kamigawa had a lot of spirit creature types in its core themes.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty good argument, to be fair. Like, I could buy that.
It's also a card that does need reprinting, because it got reprinted in Battle Bond, and it's still a relatively expensive card, so it is a nice little chase rare as well.
It is, yeah. It did get reprinted in recent Commander sets, which is why I think Pleasant Kenobi made a video about this, and he was a bit skeptical about Seaborn Muse, because he was a bit like, well, we got a reprint recently, and...
Yeah, it's one of those ones that any green deck wants.
If it's coming at the middle towards the end of 2020, it's going to go up in price again.
Yeah, it's probably one of those cards that always just could do with another reprint until every Commander player has one, right?
The other 2 suggestions, which I wasn't too convinced by, but maybe I'm wrong, is... what's it called? Dryad Arbor. Is that right?
I can potentially see that.
Which is the land that's a 1/1.
Okay, so my Dryad Arbor's a funny one, right? I'm not 100% convinced Wizards of the Coast actually wants to acknowledge it exists anymore.
I agree.
Does Dryad Arbor actually see any play in Commander? Because I know it sees play in Modern, and I know it sees plays in Legacy, but I've never seen anybody like Green Suns for 1 on turn 1 for a Dryad Arbor. Maybe I'm not watching enough competitive Commander, though.
Basically, the only reason you'd run Dryad Arbor is because it's a strictly better forest. So you should have it in every green deck.
Is it a strictly
regardless.
better forest?
Well, it's a forest that's a 1/1, but it is more easily removed.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's a forest that can lightning bolt.
It depends on what you want your forest to do. If you want your forest to attack, it's better. If you want your forest to survive, it's worse. It really does depend. But what was the other one then?
The other one was Steve.
Problem is, Sakura Tribe is originally from Kamigawa, so it's not gonna be from there.
Yeah, and he's a snake. No, is he a
Sakura
snake?
Tribe is a snake. Yes.
Oh, in that case.
Yeah, those creature types don't add up.
Yeah, I can probably see Seedborn music.
So we're pretty convinced it's going to be Seedborn.
Yeah, in terms of other cards, I think we're probably going to see. I think we'll probably see Sylvan Library.
I'm not sure about that one.
It's a chase card. It's not massively expensive. It's in need of a reprint.
It's pretty expensive.
Just under 20 quid, but it's in need of a reprint, and people play it in pretty much all green commander decks. I would see that as being the chase rare.
I'm not denying that Sylvan Library needs a reprint. It really, really does. I've wanted one for ages, and I need to get my hands on one, and I've been putting it off. My problem is, looking back, so like I say, we were kind of comparing these to the signature spellbooks, right? And if we look back at the signature spellbooks, they've been very, very adverse to putting very expensive cards in them. They're very happy to put like middlingly expensive cards in them. So, for example, like the signature spellbook Jace had Mystical Tutor and Gifts Ungiven, which were all like a good number of quid, but they weren't like dropping mana drains in there, if you know what I mean. And I can kind of see them, and that kind of worked to its advantage, right? Because it means you could pick up some real good cards for like pretty cheap. And I worry that if they do put Sylvan Library in this, they will all just be gone instantaneously in £8 trillion. A bit like how the old From the Vaults were just absurdly expensive and basically impossible to get your hands on.
I can see the point.
I feel like Wizards have learnt their lesson from... I hope Wizards have learnt their lesson from
True, but at the same time, I also feel like potentially this is the kind of set where, because it is relatively small, because it's not like From Vaults, because it is only 8 cards, maybe they can push it a little bit more. They can reprint a relative...
From the Vault was only 8 cards, right?
Oh, well, fair enough. And we'll see. I still think Sylvan Library is potentially going to see its reprint, but with other stuff like that, I think we'll see something like Kadama's Reach or something like that's going to see a reprint. We'll see something like Kadama's Reach or Farseek or something along those lines is going to see some kind of reprint.
If you want to go real deep, you could go 3 visits.
Then again, I think they're going to want to be probably a bit more obvious. I wouldn't be surprised if Sakura Tribe saw maybe a new art reprint. I wouldn't be surprised. The problem is, as much as I really, really want this to be excellent, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm going to say something like Wizards of the Coast it and accidentally and include one card just for the sake of including it. So like Giant Growth, and everyone's just going to be like, why? One
that we haven't like talked about that like people probably want in there that isn't for me, it's along the same vein as Sylvan Library is Crater.
I was thinking Crater Behemoth actually. Like that was one I was having a think about.
Yeah, it's only ever has it had 2 printings. It was in a Modern Masters, right?
Oh, I've got an idea. So hang on a minute. Sorry, going back to the one we think is Seaborn Muse. Note how it's pulling something from the ground. Could it be Eternal Witness?
What are the creature types?
Eternal Witness is it's a human shaman. Never mind. I don't know. I'm just looking at some of the I basically gone on looking at the most popular green cards in Commander: Cultivate, Kadama's Reach, Eternal Witness, Sakura Tribe, Beast Within, loads of stuff like that. So
Beast Within's probably a pretty hot reprint. To be fair, it's like a couple of quid. It's kind of annoying to get your hands on.
Beast Within I could see Beast Within because it's just good, right? And they've shown that they're happy to reprint Chaos Warp in red, even though they've admitted that it's a bit of a mistake for things outside of white to be able to remove anything.
Could they also potentially be trying to kind of trick us when they say this is a Kamigawa creature? They haven't said a Kamigawa creature card, so could it potentially be that they're actually reprinting something like Worldly Tutor?
That's an interesting point.
Because that kind of looks like it could be some kind of tutoring effect. I'm honestly just looking through these Commander, like the popular Commander cards, and just kind of seeing what I think it potentially might be. And there's lots of ideas of things it could be. Could be Caustic Caterpillar if you really, really, really want to go with it. But then we go. I don't know. When I saw it, for some reason I thought it was Kalhani Heart Expedition.
But that's also a very Zendikar name.
That's the problem. So I don't think it would potentially be that. But this is what a concept I had an idea of.
The only thing I think I'd say in terms of a green spellbook is, first of all, they probably don't want to make it all ramp spells. They don't want to put too many ramp spells. Maybe Kadama's Reach, maybe 3 visits, but if they put too many ramp spells in there, it's not very exciting, is it? You want your Crate Hoof Behemoth. You want your Avenger of Zendikar.
If they put in like too many ramp spells, you're kind of playing into, and in fact, all of the cards we've been talking about actually are very much playing into that green identity that we were talking about earlier. So they may want to throw a couple of curveballs at us actually, and put in some like not big beefy, not land cares, not like rampy spells.
Something like Terastodon potentially. And yeah, I don't know. Great. I'm very interested in it. It's got all of us thinking. Like every single one of us has literally just been sat here for the last 10 minutes going hum. So it clearly shows that it's caught our attention and our imagination. And I will say, out of all of these 4 sets, there's the one that's caught my imagination and attention the most is Commander Legends. First off, it's draftable.
So this is going to be weird, right? So Gavin Verhey actually has experience creating draftable multiplayer formats, right? So because he was the lead designer behind Conspiracy and Conspiracy
he was
Take
on the
Crown?
design team for both of them. He was not the lead designer though. He was lead designer for Battlebond.
Battlebond, sorry. Okay, yeah, so that's still a multiplayer format, right? So he's had like a lot of experience in like draftable multiplayer formats. So my first prediction would be that it is going to be draftable and you're going to play it in pods of 4. So you'll draft it in a pod of 8, then split up into 2 4s. The second thing is like they're 20 card packs, right?
So essentially you're going to open up your pack, whatever that legendary creature is, that's the thing you're most likely going to build. I think also
probably yes.
So it might be extra. Yeah, and I get the feeling as well, the reason why they've done 20 cards, they probably potentially did our normal 15 and found that people, by the end of it, were just picking up and throwing cards out because they were running out of colours. So I wouldn't be surprised if the 20 is specifically designed around making sure that people have an actual proper set of cards and not just, well, what 60 card deck are you drafting? I'm drafting the only 60 cards in the color I could have.
Well, this is the interesting thing, right? We don't actually know anything about how they're going to draft this. So are they going to be 40 card decks? Because like draft is traditionally done with 3 packs, right? So 3 packs of 20 cards is like 60 cards. I can probably make a 40 card commander deck.
I think they've taken some ideas from Brawl, and I think what it's going to be is you start on 25 life and have a 50 card deck.
I would say 30 life. If I would predict anything, I would predict 30. Yeah, if they're going to try and make it feel like Commander, there's a lot of durdling in Commander, right? So like I would expect like a lot of ramp and fixing and mana rocks in there. And then, like, I would not be surprised if we got like a full reprint of like the diamond set.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw quite a few nice little value reprints in this to allow. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw stuff like Dark Steel Ingot and a lot of the lands and rocks that tap for colors your opponent has, just to allow you into it.
Ooh, the Signets would be a hot pickup actually. So if I had to make a prediction with like 20 card packs. Making the rough prediction that you have to buy 3 packs to get into a draft, I would say it'll be 40 card or 39 card decks and 1 commander, and then you play that. It may end up being more. Maybe with like the 20 cards, you pick up like an extra 15 cards, so maybe they bump it up to like a 50 card deck or something like that. I wouldn't be expecting you to like. I don't think you physically can build like 60 card decks. I think it's unreasonable to expect you to play most of your picks.
I mean, it's one of those strange ones. I don't know how they're going to do it. I have faith in them doing it though.
Yeah, no, both conspiracy sets and Battle Bond have been excellent. Right, I think you'll be hard pressed to find people who don't agree.
One of the most fun I've had at a draft. I think Battle Bond and Unstable are my favorite draft events I've ever been to. And Battle Bond was mainly down to the fact that it was me and you, Will, wasn't it, who played together. And it was just good to sit down with someone that you trusted and have two separate decks that supported each other. And it was a fun little idea. And so I trust how they're going to build this. I trust that it's going to work. I don't think we're going to end up with, because I've heard some people murmuring about this going, well, what happens if you pick a really bad commander and someone else picks a really good one? And yeah, exactly. That's
then you make
exactly
it up in the deck, right?
Yeah, that's exactly my response. And the idea of it's all well and good. You can have a great commander, but if the deck doesn't support it, then what's the point?
It's also a very interesting place because it's a very safe place to print quite a lot of commander hate cards, as it were.
Yeah, having something just like a 4-mana spell, return target commander to command zone, or something along those lines. I also think the fact that they haven't limited themselves with specific planes as well, that they have literally gone, we can print anything we want, any commander, any time, any plane, which essentially means that we can just print cards without having to worry about going along a flavor, which I think is unfortunately something which boosts up some sets and hankers others, where we have to. Yeah, it's exceptionally good for them to go, we're not dealing with themes. We're just going to say 70 new legendary creatures, 70 new commanders, cards to go around them. Let's just do this thing. I would not be surprised if this is one of the biggest sets we ever see.
My one worry is when they've been promising these 70 new commanders, normally when you have to design a draft set, you have to design it pretty tight, right? You build one major theme into each color combination. So you might have some monocolored ideas, and then each 2-color combination tends to do something. My worry with 70 legendary creatures, I think a lot of they're going to have multiple legendary creatures in similar colors that do similar things, right? And I worry that a lot of them may end up feeling quite samey.
We're going to see all the monocolors, all the dual colors, all the 3 colors, all the 4 colors, and 5 color as well, I think. If there's any draft format that I can play a 5 color in, it's going to be a 5 color commander draft. 100%. If
I will play
we get
5 color,
if we get another 5 color Urza, go for it. I'll do that. Well, that's shadow of a doubt. I'll throw in for that.
For drafting this set, it feels like multicolored are going to be the way to go. If you can pick between 2 commanders, then the more colors in that CMC, the better.
That might be some very interesting design space though, because obviously the multicolored commanders tend to be much more powerful, right? So you could skew your distribution, right? You could skew it so actually the 5, okay, so maybe the 5 color commander is pretty good, but the 4 color commanders, maybe they're not so good, but you make up for it with the decks being basically 4 color piles of everything good you could pick up. And then as your mana gets easier, but you pick up less.
I'm thinking a reverse bell curve where you've almost got powerful at the beginning, drops down to 3 color because you've got the most options, and then bounces back up again as the mana base and cards become harder to deal with. Just having something like an Evolving Wilds is probably going to be a really hot pickup.
Oh yeah, you're going to be picking that stuff pretty high, particularly the generic stuff.
Oh yeah, all right. Now you're speaking.
I mean, mana fixing is going to be so hard to do.
In fact, this might be a pretty hot place to reprint the fetch lands.
I only realised that Terraformorphic Expanse got printed before Evolving Worlds really recently. I thought it was the other way around.
I'm always down for a Terraformorphic Expanse reprint.
Yeah, it's weird. I honestly don't know why.
It's from Time Spiral.
Yeah, I don't know why functional reprints sometimes just take over for no apparent reason. I don't get it. And on that note, thank you very much for listening to this episode of Chillin and Millin. Lots to talk about, lots to be excited for. I can't wait for the next banned and restricted announcement on Monday. I will leave with this. If you want to go on YouTube and search Magic the Gathering 2019 in memoriam, and it's an in memoriam video of all the cards we've lost to bans this year. Thank you very much for watching. Good night.